In Update 43, Ninja Kiwi added a new hero to BTD6, Rosalia, the Tinkerer who uses a jetpack, a laser cannon, and grenades. Now previously, I made a video talking about her Guardian Automaton perk and how useless it really is, but since then, I've gotten a ton of comments on that video talking about her other weaknesses and how she really isn't that good of a hero overall. And as I used her more, I realized that the comments were right. She really isn't that good, especially compared to the last couple heroes that got added to this game. I feel like Ninja Kiwi was trying to overcompensate for how overpowered they made Geraldo and Corvus at first, and so they made Rosalia a bit too weak. So this video is basically just me going over a few balance changes that I would like Ninja Kiwi to add for Rosalia. Some of them came from me, and some of the ideas came from the comments. I will credit wherever necessary. Now to be clear, I have several ideas for this, but I feel like if Ninja Kiwi added all of them, Rosalia would be way too powerful. So I just feel like it's basically a pick two situation. Choose whichever two of these you like the most, and then Rosalia would be kind of balanced. But anyway, let's get into it. So I'm not going to go over this one too much because I've already discussed it quite a bit, but my first suggestion does relate to Guardian Automaton. There was a lot of discussion in the comments about this one. Some people thought it should be moved to an earlier level, some people thought the discount should be increased massively, some thought it should apply to other towers, and others thought it should just be removed altogether. My personal opinion is that it does seem to be a bit random of a buff and not really that good of one. However, it would be a lot more useful if it was moved to an earlier level. Personally, I think it should be moved to level 16. I also think it would be cool if it applied to Sentry Champion and the Tech Terror, mainly because Rosalia's theme is basically an experimental Tinkerer, and those are definitely experimental towers considering the Sentry Champions literally explode. Of course, if it applies to multiple towers and it's at a level that it can actually be achieved, 30% discount is a little bit too overpowered. I personally think if that was implemented, it should be reduced to 20%. Feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. However, as a counterpoint, Guardian Automaton's level 20 would be less of an issue if level 20 was more achievable, and that brings me to my second suggestion. Change Rosalia's leveling curve. I know that sounds a bit radical, but hear me out. If Rosalia was able to reach level 20 naturally by the end of a Chimps game on higher end maps, Guardian Automaton might actually be a viable buff as you use anti-bloon for those strategies. And historically speaking, stuff like that has happened before. Etienne and Geraldo both have XP rates that are the same as the base hero rate. Of course, if Guardian Automaton is all the way on level 20, that would still lead to it being unlocked pretty late, but if you got the Energizer, it would be unlocked way sooner with the base XP rate. Of course, Guardian Automaton aside, I feel like that would just be a really good change overall to make Rosalia more viable as a hero. She's mostly outclassed by other heroes in a lot of things otherwise. I mean, with the slow leveling, Rosalia is like a mix between a DPS and support hero that isn't that good with support and not even that good with DPS either. Rosalia's main use at this point is a cheaper flying fortress. That's pretty much it. And one of the reasons she isn't that good for DPS is the reason I'll mention in my next point, camo detection. Okay, hear me out on this one. Rosalia is a technological genius. She's invented a jetpack, she's invented a cluster grenade launcher, and she's invented a high-powered laser cannon that can push back ZOMGs. Why doesn't she have camo-seeking technology equivalent to what snipers have had for a literal decade? Now, do I think she should have camo detection from level 1? Maybe, maybe not. I'm undecided. It seems a little overpowered. But should she have it from at least level 7 where she canonically gets goggles over her face that could probably have some kind of Iron Man-like interface with Jarvis and could definitely see infrared? Absolutely. Put the camo on her then at least. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me that she can't see camo when there are a lot of things in the game that are less technologically advanced that easily can. And not to mention, it wouldn't even be out of line for her because other heroes have weird camo interactions. Oben, who can't see camo himself, gives camo to druids now. Why can't Rosalia have camo? Okay, moving on to my fourth point. I feel like Rosalia should be able to attack when moving from one point to another. That's just something I feel like they should add. It would be a huge quality of life thing. It would make Rosalia micro way easier and she would just be way better overall. The fact that she doesn't currently have that honestly makes her way worse because you can't even Rosalia micro properly. If she could attack while moving, you could move her while bloons get past and maybe catch them on the other side, but if she doesn't attack, then they just slip right past, and that's a major weakness. I know Ninja Kiwi said that they didn't want to make Rosalia too micro heavy, but the amount of likes on this comment saying that they made her micro heavy and bad, I think speaks a lot to how the community thinks of her as a whole. Anyway, moving on from that, we have this suggestion in the comments that I didn't think of myself. Credit to the people in the comments who thought of this one because I don't think I ever would have. But what if, at level 20, Rosalia gained the ability to always be pursuing the bloons as if the level 7 ability is always active? It is possible to be always active anyway with Energizer, so I just feel like that would be a quality of life thing more than anything. Of course, if she always had the flight speed boost to aces and stuff while that was up, that would be a bit too overpowered, so maybe save that for when the actual ability is activated and then the ability can come with upgraded weapons. I just feel like that'd be a really good change overall and might make that a bit more interesting. And now for one of my personal favorite ideas, Ninja Kiwi probably will not add this one because even to me it feels a little bit overpowered, but for 5,000 monkey money, I do feel like Rosalia should be a game changer. The true good heroes are more expensive than that, but then Rosalia would actually be viable and more people might play her. But I'm just speculating here, what if Rosalia added a buff to flying towers? She's mostly flying tower focused anyway with her aircraft efficiency and whatnot, so what if at high level she actually gained a small buff to them? Maybe it's only active with her level 7 ability or something. Like what if the level 7 ability is just normal at first, but then at like level 12 or something, while the ability is active, all aces and helicopters get +1 pierce or something, and then at like level 18, it can be upgraded to also give them +1 damage while the ability is active. And what if the +1 damage and pierce were permanent at level 20, along with aircraft efficiency being upgraded to 10% decrease? Now, like I said earlier, this would be a bit overpowered, and I'm not suggesting all of the things I've talked about so far be added at the same time. This probably would not work well with the advanced hero scaling because it would be reached way too early. But I just think that would be a fun change that would put Rosalia deep into the support category. And I mean, heroes like Brickle have some major buffs, so I feel like this wouldn't be too out of line for a hero focused on flying towers. So this next change here is a bit out of pocket. I definitely was not expecting this one at all, but now that I think about it, it might be a fun concept. Ninja Kiwi probably wouldn't use it, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. So this comment here says, shortly after Rosalia launched, I had a dream where level 20 also allowed having a second anti-bloom, similar to that one Crossbow Master Monkey Knowledge. It wouldn't fix the issue of that perk being mostly useless, but I found it to be maybe fun idea if combined with other buffs. Now, in all honesty, I don't know how useful of a buff that would be, and I do think that would be a fun thing more than anything, because in chimps, unless you have like a perfect strategy, you are not affording 2 anti-bloons, and if you can, it would be far enough in the run that you are better off using a Zilly for sure. Of course, in other modes, that would be interesting because then you could probably get 2 anti-blooms with farming, but if you're going for something like a VTSG or whatever, you probably would be better off not using that. You could just use a Dora or something because of the buffs. I'm sorry guys, I finally went outside and touched grass for the first time in 27 years yesterday, and I got the living sunburned out of me. I am not making that mistake again. I am in a lot of pain right now. Anyway, those are pretty much most of the ideas I've had. The other ones aren't even really that good. If you have any other ideas, make sure to leave them in the comments. Maybe Ninja Kiwi will see this and might make Rosalia better in update 44. And like I said earlier, if all these buffs were implemented at once, Rosalia would be way too powerful, especially if you had the quicker leveling combined with the buffs to aces and stuff. But it's just a bunch of suggestions, and if Ninja Kiwi used a couple of these, I would honestly be really flattered. If I had to pick any 2 out of all the ones I've said so far personally, I think I would use Camo Detection and quicker leveling, because if she got Camo Detection from level 1 and leveled up quicker, she would be an honestly really good hero for a bunch of chimps runs, but that's just my ideas. And I would honestly love to hear your guys' ideas as well. If you could only pick 2 of the buffs out of the ones I've mentioned so far, which 2 would you pick? And if you can think of any other ones, what would you pick for buffs? Make sure to let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. And honestly, once Rosalia inevitably gets buffed, because no way she doesn't get buffed, honestly, Ninja Kiwi kind of has to buff her, it'll be interesting to see if any of these ideas end up getting added. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, make sure to use my creator code in the BTD shop so I can finally afford ramen. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. You're an absolute legend if you've made it this far, and I'll see you in the next video.